parties of India, and you'll get an answer what their view was on these three laws and what they wanted. 20 years, not 20 years, or shall I say 2 decades of consultation has happened on this. The Model Act came when Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee was there in India. He was the Prime Minister. And since then, committees, commissions, parliamentary meetings, state government, scientists, stakeholders, they have been engaged on these issues for over 2 decades. So much so that, these contract farming laws are not new. 20 states in India already have it. The new contract farming laws actually make it more stringent, or safeguard the interest of the farmers more than what it was before. The other thing, the mandi system that we have now, of course, the new laws provide option for the farmers to sell his produce outside the mandi system, but that does not mean that the mandi system is going to go away. The mandi system is run by state laws. And several states, 17 states in India, have already done away with mandi system, because you create a monopoly, you create vested interest, you don't give the due share to the farmers. Over and above, they have to pay commissions. So for that reason, the mandi system exists in some parts, but in several others, the mandi system has already been done away with. As many of you would know, 11 rounds of talks have happened between the protesters and the farmers. The government has given an open dialogue that government is ready to look at all what the farmers have to say in terms of amendments. Government is ready to go clause by clause on the laws, and government is ready to put these laws in abeyance for 1.5 years. And during that time, sit with farmers and sit with others who are interested to go over the laws and make changes, amendments wherever required. This, of course, has been rejected by the farmers. Now, it is very difficult in a democracy if you don't sit together, don't have consultations and dialogue, then how will you make a move forward? The protesters are insisting on repealing the laws. Now, the question is, if you want to repeal the laws, you must also explain as to why you want to repeal the laws, and you have to come to table for negotiations with your suggestions, constructive suggestions. And here also, from our community here, if you have constructive suggestions about the farm laws, please do send it to us. We shall convey it back home. And government has an open mind on that. Also, I would encourage, because you people are interested in the farm laws, please read the farm laws yourself. Also look at the opinion pieces of experts, agricultural experts, what they have to say. There's a lot of material which is available in the open source. They are not government mouthpieces. They are economists, agroeconomists, etc., who will give you, and then you can judge for yourself what are the issues, what are the underlying issues, what are the deeper issues that need to be looked at, and not just raising hands and creating stories out of nothing. Now, let me tell you, in the beginning, there were 4 key demands of the protesters. First one was the minimum support price, that the system of minimum support price should not be done away with. Government has given categorical assurance that MSP will be there, and they are ready to give a written assurance on that. In the parliament, our prime minister has said, MSP tha, MSP hai, MSP rahega. Even after the promulgation of laws, the minimum support price has gone up for several food grains. Not only that, the public procurement through minimum support price mechanism has also gone up. Second, which the farmers wanted, that the mandi system should not be done away with. Government has gone on record to say that mandi system will continue, and not only continue, they will be modernized. In any case, mandis are regulated by state laws, by the state governments. So on that also, government has an open mind and ready to look at whatever the farmers have to say. The third issue was electricity amendment bill regarding subsidy. On that, again, government has said that they are ready to look at, consider whatever the farmers have to say on that account, and they will be suitably incorporated, and whatever support that is being given to the farmers will continue. Fourth issue, many of you, I don't know if somebody, some of our friends here is from Delhi, but during November, December, because of stubble burning, the whole population of NCR and the surrounding North India belt, they suffer. Some millions of people suffer because of pollution levels. And that happens because of stubble burning in Punjab and Haryana and that part. On that, a penalty had been imposed, which the farmers are objecting. The government, because the farmers are objecting, even though it is in the larger interest of not just population around Delhi but also climate change and environmental protection issues, the government has said, okay, if farmers feel so hard about it, then the government is ready to look at it favorably. So that again, government is open. All these four immediate demands that farmers had, on all these fours, government is ready to have a relook and consider the demands of the farmers positively. There have been other issues which have been raised, like registration of private mandi, that once, apart from the government mandi, if the laws come into play, you'll have private mandis, they need to be registered. On that also, government has said, we are open. If you want registration, that can be done. Then there's an issue about all the agreements, contract farming agreements, to be registered. On that also, government has said that we have an open mind, and we can, if this is what the farmers want, then we can have it registered as well. And the option of going to the civil court, of course, on that, government is very clear that if the farmers want that option is available. On the infrastructure side, government has come up with a new plan, agriculture infrastructure fund of some 13 to 14 billion dollars, which will create public infrastructure in villages, create cold storage, logistics, supply chains, and other things, so that food processing, packaging, grading, sorting, etc. will be done at the farm gate itself, so that the farm produce is ready to be shipped to the market. The trade in farm produce is a lot more efficient, a lot more smooth, without any bottlenecks. And secondly, learning from our experience of milk producers organization, cooperative framework that we have, and through which we have had huge success in India, Amul being one such example. Government wants to create 10,000 farmers producer organization, because taking into account the interest of small and marginal farmers, these farmers can come together, join a farmers producer organization, and then have a better bargaining power and a leverage power. At the same time, they can also access the facilities, both government facilities and private facilities, in a much more smoother and efficient manner. So these laws, in our understanding, it is important for modernization of Indian agriculture, to bring new investments in Indian villages, create modern infrastructure, silos. We produce so much of food, but you have to see, have a look, internet will give you how the food grains are stored today in yards, open, and during monsoons, they are exposed to the vagaries of nature. A lot of food uh, rots, and who loses? Obviously, the farmer loses and the country loses. So we need to create new infrastructure to store that food, and to also add value to the food. If you go to countryside here, you see those big silos, but you don't have that picture anywhere when you travel in the countryside in India. We'll do a lot better if we have modern storage facilities. Um, the Food Corporation of India, which procures food and maintains the buffer stock in India, an old system when we were deficient in food. The buffer stock in India is to maintain at 47 million metric tons of food. Today, we almost thrice that amount of food which the government buys, but half of it is lost because of lack of facilities. This procurement happens because government also has to supply to the PDS, public distribution system, to consumers in villages and urban areas. So a lot of food is wastage. For that reason, we need technology, we need more infrastructure and modernization. Apart from that, the other thing is the 26th January, there was a rally, farmers rally, protest rally in Delhi on 26th January that went violent. People climbed Red Fort. They vandalized the National Monument, where we have flag hoisting on 15th August. Um, um, People took law in their hands, and when you, in a democracy, when you take law in your hands, then law must follow its own course. What was little, what must be, I must pose this issue here. on 6th of January, when you had violence in Washington, everybody condemned, rightly condemned, I guess. Barbed wires were put, everything was put around for the security of that area of Washington, the Capitol Hill. The same set of people, use different arguments when 26th January violence happened in Delhi. I guess these are, you must look at, you must call a spade a spade. So, but government remains open to consultations. Government has given the call for the farmers to come forward with suggestions and to talk together and see how best to break the deadlock and take our farm reforms forward in keeping with the democratic ethos. Government remains committed and respects the right of the farmers to protest peacefully. But at the same time, the government has given a call that the best forward is dialogue and conversation in this matter. So with that, I'll just leave. It was a long monologue from my side, but I'm ready to take questions that you may have.
Thank you, Randarji, for that detailed explanation. We have a couple of questions. The first question is, there is an assumption that if a farmer is in a dispute with, anybody, they cannot approach the civil court. Is this true? And if you can elaborate.
No, on that, the farm laws, the contract farming laws provides for dispute resolution at the SDM and district level. The reason behind that was that, it can happen in a shorter span of time, a month's time, etc. If you involve courts, civil courts in India, it's a much lengthy process. It goes on for long, and it defeats the purpose. Also, if the matter goes to the court, then government does not have any control over it. Then, whereas if the matter is to be settled at the district level, the government can pass orders and see that the best of interest of the farmers, the interest of the farmer is protected. But on that also, government has been very clear that if people want to go to civil court, that amendment can be brought.
Yeah, thank you, Randirji. And Haritha, thanks for asking the question. And we have great community leaders from Ohio, like we have Karanbir Singh, like who represents farmers and farmers' family and Jawan's family. So it goes with the like Jai Jawan, Jai Kisan. And I have been talking with him for like the last 4 days. It's very interactive session, and he came up with some constructive criticisms. I think he's ready to ask questions. Yeah. And we have other community leaders, Manubhai Bhatt, Bipender Jindal, and all the FI team. And the good thing about this is the second generation, the students, like as we mentioned, and they are involved too. Like we have Prakash Jha, and we have Siddharth Revuru, we have Shiva Prasad, and I might be missing some of them. So I don't know some of them, they might be students, but they joined. And thank you all for joining these questions. And so I, as CG Sir said, I will open up the discussions. I think Karanbir Singh ji, yeah, please introduce yourself and please go ahead.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Thank you, Shri Randir ji. It's been, we really appreciate your time. And I've been living here in North America for like past, take around 8 years. I went to school here, University of Florida, so go Gators. So, and then I worked for many corporations throughout. I worked in for CVS Health. I lived in the Boston area. I'm still in the Boston area right now. Then I lived in Chicago. I've lived in Canada. So right now for past couple of months, almost 3 months, I've been on the streets of Delhi. And I just want to humbly add to the information as we were discussing earlier, that there are only 3 streets that have been blocked, namely 2 in Punjab, Haryana, and Uttar Pradesh. I just want to add these are just national highways which have not been blocked by the farmers. These people who were coming to Delhi to protest, they've been stopped by the Delhi police, which comes and does not come under the Delhi government. It comes under the Honorable Home Ministry, of India by the Union government. So there are more than 7 to 8 protests going around Delhi, which are inclusive of Rajasthan border. It's called Shahjahanpur. Then we have Palwal, where we have farmers from Madhya Pradesh, and even like in Maharashtra, Kerala, Karnataka. So Odisha, so that's Palwal border. Then we have Dhansa border, which is right in Delhi, near Badli, So there is like a lot more streets, and if I don't want to call them streets though, but they're like highways. If we have to go more aptly, yeah. So I've been to all of them. I even went up until Karnataka. So I went to Marathawada, Vijayawada, and Nalgonda district of Telangana. So this is like if you're standing near where these three states meet, like I think there's district Nanded of Maharashtra. So if you have like a 300-kilometer radius of circle, so you can easily see how many suicides are happening. That's like the suicide farmer capital of the world. More than 80 farmers are just dying in Marathawada and Vidarbha region of the Maharashtra every week. So that's such a shameful fact. So why are they dying? What's the problem? The government knows it. Both the state governments know it. So this is non-political. I support or endorse neither the state governments or the central government. I'm just representing the farmer voice. So yeah, so we can. I'm open to a discussion or a dialogue. Anyways, however, the Honorable General Counsel wants to proceed.
Thank you, Karanbir ji, and Sastrikal to you. And I see that you're working very hard and traveling all over the United States and also in India. Farmers' protests are happening, obviously. But the question is, when you talk in terms of numbers, how many people are protesting? How many people, that percentage of people as a percentage of total India's population is only that much. But now, what you're talking about, suicide, are structural issues. Now, if you're dealing with structural issues, landholding size becoming small, people not getting irrigation facilities, etc., we have to do something. We have to provide better irrigation. We have to provide better facilities to the farmers. So for that, you are good. We must. You have experience. We have people from Punjab, etc., in farming here. They will have very good suggestions to make. I would really request you to come forward with good suggestions. There are farming practices which are good here. Those can be incorporated. But, sitting on the road itself will not solve the problem. We have to come together and talk together. And government has given as you know, an open call that please come forward with constructive suggestions, and they are ready to look at all that you want to say. So I would really request if you can give us some feedback, we'll be very happy to convey it back home.
Randhirji, this is Manisha. Thank you for arranging this session. I represent Punjabi Virsa, Ohio, the latest organization we formed, the first one registered organization in Columbus, Ohio, from Punjabi community. I have a couple of questions, though I'm falling short of the suggestions. The very first one is, you said government has postponed to implement these laws for 1.5 years.
That's the call. That's the call.
That's the call.
Yes, the laws are suspended because as per Supreme Court order.
Supreme Court, yeah. That's what I was coming to the point, that Supreme Court has, first of all, came into the action, they suspended, and then they are trying to have a committee. So I believe that the mediation is required between farmers because there is a bottleneck or the stop at this moment, the talks. Second thing, which I would like to know from you is, what is stopping government to include or to guarantee the MSP? Because we have heard our Honorable Prime Minister, and I'm one of the biggest fan of Mr. Narendra Modi ji. He said MSP hai, MSP tha, MSP rahega. So what exactly is stopping us to guarantee in written that MSP will be there forever?
Well, these are two things. You talked about the talks. The talks, of course, government is open to talks. So it is for the farmers they have rejected the talks. So they must come forward, and we remain open. In democracy, we have to take everybody together. And people who are sitting on the road, Karanbir was there. There are people, they are Indians, they are Jai Jawan, Jai Kisan. They are our own people, our own family. So that is the spirit in which we must talk to each other. As far as MSP is concerned, MSP, see, not everything in that is provided, toll, for example, if you pay toll or other facilities that you have, for not everything you have to have a law passed by the parliament. MSP in India is administered through executive action. On the issue of MSP, government has given clear assurance that if you want written assurance, then they are ready to give written assurance also.
Thank you, CJji. Appreciate all your time. I would request if Bipinder Jindalji, if you have few questions, and I think Sai Kumar, you also have questions. So once Bipinder Jindalji go through it, then you can.
Arindamji, please give me a chance to talk also.
Yeah, Manu bhai, absolutely. No, we are just saying whoever asking raising their hand.
In case I thought that you may forget.
No. It's just whoever raising the hand on the Zoom. We are just checking that.
Okay. Well, I given some my questions in chat also.
Okay, sure. So let's Bipinder Jindalji go, then you can come in, Manu bhai. Or you can go ahead now, Manu bhai, then maybe Jindalji can come in.
Ranjit, this is Manu Bhatt.
Namaste, sir. How are you?
I am doing very well. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to have you here and to talk to all of us. See, compared to what people are saying, I have been here in United States for the last 55 years. So, and during those 55 years, I have visited India many times, have worked right from the time that I did not have any jobs in India. Today, the condition in India is much, much better. And I am a witness to that. But with all that, I appreciate your very succinct and very clear information and giving us a very good understanding of the three laws. Now, I got two questions. Will you provide a video of, will FIA or anybody would provide us with a video of your presentation today, number one? And number two, is it possible that the consulate can provide us with a printed brochure which contains the kind of explanation that you provided today? I will tell you the reason why. There are quite a few. I myself, we come from 10 brothers and 3 sisters. So we have a large family. Each one has his own opinion. So it would be nice to provide them with some good written material also at the same time. And the same is the case with a lot of friends. And so we would appreciate some material like that.
Okay, thank you, Bhatt Saab, for your comments. What we will do is that we have a soft copy of a booklet, but that soft copy runs into some 50 or 100 pages, but pictures.
Yeah.
But, the problem today is that the attention span of people is so short that nobody wants to read anything. But I will send you that. I will also send you a shortened version of some talking points, etc. Just for that you to get a flavor of the issues.
That would be great.
And this presentation, if it is on Facebook, it will be there. So it is for people to see.
Yes, it will be recorded and posted onto the FIA site. So you can absolutely access it after the meeting is done.
Sure, we can help you with that, Manu Bhatt. Thank you, Randirji, for asking that. Prakash Jaji, could you please go ahead with your question?
Namaste, everyone. My name is Prakash. I'm a faculty of agriculture science at Kansas State and research scientist at Feed the Future USAID lab. I will respond to Muni Ayarji. He asked about MSP, and then Randirji replied that. So let me give a brief about MSP, why it cannot be legalized and why people are talking about that. So let me give an example of a state of Madhya Pradesh. MP removed commission agent, and then people talk about the MSP system. So the sector, fishery, poultry, milk, those sectors does not have MSP, and they are growing at the faster rate of 10%. You have example of Russia, right? In 90s, Russian wheat were standing with bumper production. No one was ready to buy at government prices. And finally, farmers had to burn all standing wheat crops. So this can happen in case of glut in production as well. Moreover, government cannot make it as illegal, as there are a lot of binding agreements with WTO, World Trade Organization, in terms of subsidy cap. And that's how we are thinking that, okay, we should not legalize WTO. So that was my response to Muniji.
Thank you, Prakash. You've done very well.
Thanks, Prakash ji.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Harita ji, there is a Sai Kumar ji. He is raising his hand for quite some time. I'll let
sure.
him come.
Please go ahead.
This question.
Thank you, Bhupinder ji and Randhir ji. Thank you so much. I think as an NRI, these sort of issues they come to most people of this millennial and Gen Z generation through social media. And you've talked a lot about false narratives, and popularly in the last 2-3 years, we've heard the term fake news over and over again, and it's increasingly become part of government's responsibility to press down on social media companies to propagate true information and to filter false information. So my question is twofold. One is the Indian government, if we're seeing numbers of 20,000 and getting 250 million put on social media, that's a problem. No matter what your beliefs are, that's a problem. So is the Indian government planning on pressing on social media to filter the false narratives with their accurate representation of true numbers? And second, for people of my generation, I'm actually a media person, a PR and media person. And what would you encourage people of on the NRI side to do? Because it's now become a red line. You're either with the farmers or you hate human rights. There's no nuance anymore. So how do we start injecting nuance into this issue?
I mean, there is no duality between human rights and farmers. Farmers are our own people. They are Indians. We care for them. They are brothers. They are our sisters. They are part of the family. At the same time, as a democracy, we are committed to observing human rights. There's absolutely no doubt about that. We value human rights and we value the welfare of our people. And because we value the welfare of our people, that's why we've brought in these laws, because it is our understanding that, it will bring new changes. It will help energize the agriculture sector. Karanbir, he mentioned about farmer suicide and all. Of course, there are many challenges that we have in the agriculture sector. And for that reason, you have to do things, policy changes, modernization, technology, income support. You have to do more with less today, less water. You have to introduce new ways of doing drip irrigation. A lot of things, new things have to be done so that you raise the income of the farmers. Without making changes, you will not be able to address the incomes of the farmers today, because there are structural bottlenecks, legal structural bottlenecks, correct? Land holding size and lack of modern inputs. All these things are not there. In rural areas, at the time of independence, the differential between urban and rural income was 1:2 or something like that. That gap has widened because people in urban areas taking advantage of reforms, of technology, of the new economy, of globalization, of everything else, digital economy, their incomes have gone up, whereas farm incomes have stagnated. Now, if those incomes have stagnated, we have to do something new. We have to think out of the box. We have to make changes to our laws, to our legal requirements. And that is the spirit in which we are approaching these laws and the welfare of the people. The question of social media, we belong to one humanity. This pandemic has shown that we are either we swim together or we sink together,
Yeah.
And if that is the idea of humanity, then we all have to be responsible as individuals, as citizens, as community members, as countrymen, as nationals of one particular country and as part of the global community, we all have to be responsible. The moment that responsibility bit, the duty bit goes out, then you have a problem. You will have a problem everywhere. You know, today I see there's a lot more misinformation than information on social media. It becomes self-defeating. Anything, you know, in Hindi, there is a saying which says, जिस चीज का बुनियाद मजबूत नहीं होता है, वो गिर जाता है. तो जिस चीज का भी बुनियाद, ये सोशल मीडिया ठीक है, you know, today of course that's become an important part of global conversation. But if slowly, if people see that, you know, it's more about false narrative, etc., fake news, then people will lose interest and trust. Trust is very important. Without that trust, we as a society will not progress. You know, currently mentioned about structural problems. Let me tell you, you know, and look at Punjab also. You know, if you don't take corrective actions on the environmental side, crop diversification, you know, Punjab government themselves, they have come up with a program to diversify the cropping pattern, to get farmers to produce less of rice, because rice consumes so much of water. 1 kilo of rice, experts say, takes 5,000 liters of water. Now, these imbalances, if you don't contribute, if you don't fix right now, you know, the incidence of cancer in Punjab, for example, in next 10 years, 20 years, then you're looking, then you will be facing a lot darker side of the future of the farmers. It is the right time now that we have to look at all these issues in an integrated manner. Look at what, you know, people who experts from farming communities in Punjab have said. You know, you should not make everything political. You know, the chairman of Amul, Dr. Rupinder Singh Sodhi, he comes from the farming community in Punjab. Look at what he has to say. He's an expert. Sadara Singh Johal, an eminent name in agriculture in Punjab and globally. He's given consultation on agriculture to United Nations, to governments across the world. He's a senior man. He was given Padma Bhushan, one of the highest civilian awards of India. What he has to say about the agriculture scenario today. And then you will judge for yourself. So a lot of people, you know, you have look at one particular post and then you form an opinion on farm laws. It's a lot deeper than just these visuals that are floating around. It's a serious issue. It's a livelihood issue. Farm issues, you know, you are talking about the future of 60%, 70% of India and of our food security. So a lot of issues to be discussed and looked at when you talk of farm laws and all those. That's the whole idea. You know, we have to think differently today. We have to bring in changes. Without changes, nothing goes, you know, you can't change. You don't move forward.
Right, absolutely.
Thank you. There are 3 more people actually raised the hand, and I will give them the opportunity to come in the same order. Bhupinder ji is holding his hand for quite a long time, and then after that Sumita ji, and then lastly Manoj Bir.
And we have like Sheena also.
Yeah,
so we have like a couple more minutes, and
let's give the
short.
Keep it short.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for giving me the opportunity. I had been asked to give it a different nuance rather than a political one, and that is there are certain fundamentals which are true. One is there is no perfect bill, act, or law in any country. Never has been and never will be. In any democracy or dictatorship, 100% of the people are never satisfied. Number 3, human mind can justify any position. Number 4, special interest groups, greedy people, and corrupt people have always existed and will continue, and they are the one who will either sabotage or exploit the system, no matter how good intention that particular system has been created. And last, every reform has unintended consequences. And because some people will implement the reform using their own interpretations and self-interest. Just to give you an example, how do they affect us and people in India? And I will agree with Mr. Manu Bhatt. I have been also going to India for the last 42 years, and I am seeing that it is much better India today overall than it was 42 years ago when I left the country. There are more opportunities. And I also agree with the Consulate that unless you change, progress will not come. and you cannot satisfy 100% of the people. So question becomes, what is the guiding principle? If, like he pointed out, so many Kisan have committed suicide, which goes in, I think, in hundreds of, almost 100,000 in the last 20 years. It was because of the bad policies as well as lack of actual support at the ground level. Without naming any names, it was just a policy problem. So having said that, what are the solutions? That only discussion and dialogue will solve the problem. What we are seeing by some people, just like that in Gita, Duryodhan story, when Krishna said, give me 5 gaon, and Duryodhan said, मैं तुमको सुई की नोक के बराबर भी जमीन नहीं दूंगा. That's a poison pill. In this country, we call that type of negotiation a poison pill. And that's what has happened by some people. Overall, I have gotten the text of the bill. I have seen, and here is what I think, that in USA, according to their USDA website, in 1950, there were 25 million farmers and average farm size was 216 acres. In 1980, 6 million farmers and average size grew to 426 acres. In 2019, there are 2.03 million farmers and the size has gone to 444 acres. What does that tell you? A lot of mergers, corporatization, and the family farmers continue to go down. And what is the most starking fact here is 81.5% as of the 2019 data, 81.5% of the farmers had less than $100,000 in sale. That is what is, people are fearful in for India, in a smaller farmer, because just like Consulate pointed out, that majority of the farmers have less than 5 hectares of land. So as you can see that over the years, number of farmers went down here, corporate took over, and that is one of the fear. So in this Indian situation, I think in Farm Bill 2020 with its 3 components, they have taken hybrid approach, and yet they are also open to suggestions. And especially as he rightly pointed out, that Supreme Court has suspended. So for all technical and practical purposes, there is no reason to protest. Only thing is to have dialogue. Otherwise, it is a poison pill. As far as the MSP is concerned, there are 2 types of MSP. Number 1, which is government is buying in order to have food security and also to distribute through ration. And some of the numbers that I have seen, only 6% of the output of only 3 crops are bought by the government, only 6% of the total Indian output for this purpose. Rest of it is still being sold in mandi and other places where there is some corruption, manipulation of a small farmer, and people are selling those crops under the MSP price. And then, like he pointed out about milk, dairy, or animal husbandry, those are, or cash crop for like fruits, vegetables, they are much more profitable. That this particular bill helps in achieving those goals. It is not a short-term fix, but it is a long-term fix.
Right. And we appreciate that, Bhupenderji, but we also want to give others the opportunity to ask questions.
I'm done. That's what I was.
Okay.
Because we have a very limited time this point.
Yeah.
No, Arindam, he is giving very good information. You can give a chance to him. Because he's talking exactly reality, what is going on there.
We understand.
We understand that, actually, because let us go to give opportunity to everybody to ask.
No. You can give it to them also, but he can talk. You can't stop it when
I'm done.
Somebody is talking.
I will be done exactly in 30 seconds. The last thing is, beside this bill, there are certain other things which need to be provided in order to bring farmers to prosperity. Number one was infrastructure. And I have seen personally that how the roads have improved so they can take their produce to different locations without spoiling the produce. Number two, facilitating water distribution. I have personally seen during the last trip that it is being done. Soil health card, that's the using of technology which people did not use. And in addition to this bill, they have allocated हजारों करोड़ रुपए for this price. Then like Consulate pointed out that 10,000 farmers producer, that is a huge thing. And you will see the result of that in the next 5 years if these bills are passed and it is implemented. Last but not the least, as far as the contract farming is concerned, just because I sold you milk doesn't mean you own my cow. This is completely misinformation.
Yeah, thanks, Bipendraji. And with the time constraint, yeah, I know like we have a couple more questions and we can have more sessions like this. I know this is a great information. And Sumitaji and Manjoji, you can ask your questions and maybe we'll wrap it up.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you for organizing this session. And if you do hold another one, I would be very interested. So I grew up in Ohio, Athens, Ohio. My father and mother moved there. My mother's from Ahmedabad. My father is from the Vidarbha area in the Yawatmal district. And they formed a nonprofit organization, charity, which I am now managing. And we developed a college in Yawatmal district in Vidarbha. And I was especially touched when students approached me because the students' own fathers who were farmers had committed suicide and approached us about what we can do. And we have definitely seen the drought really affecting the region. And we have, even in our own family, have experienced suicide. Many of my family are still farmers. So we have developed a project. We have a partnership with Ohio University. And we have also been working with the University of Colorado in Boulder, where I'm now based in Colorado. And we have developed a project to diversify crops, support farmers in improving soil health, restoring a number of indigenous plants, water harvesting, et cetera, in the Yawatmal district area. And we are working with an organization there as well as a nonprofit. We are 501c3 we started in Ohio, so we're a US-based 501c3. So my question is, does the Indian government have any programs to support nonprofits that are working with farmers and introducing a lot of these? It's both old and modern. It's indigenous practices that preceded the Green Revolution, as well as modern knowledge. So both bringing back, non-chemical, grazing of the land, natural farming, with also modern knowledge. So are there Indian government or consulate supports for nonprofits doing this work?
I mean, if you, well, first of all, thank you, Sumita, for your observations. I've been to Yawatmal and that part of the country, very beautiful. I've seen your rain harvesting structures, which go back to centuries, beautiful. We are able to revive them. In fact, incidentally, I've also visited the Lonar Lake, which is the largest meteor hit lake in the world, one of the largest, I think the largest or one of the largest in the world. So thank you very much. We deeply value the kind of work that you are doing. And similarly, there are several organizations on the civil society side which are engaged with farmers in addressing their distress, water problems, and all sorts of things. And all the issues that you've just mentioned about are the ways of doing things in 21st century and dealing with the problems that we have. If we do not address the issue of drought, for example, I don't think we'll go very far as bringing progress and prosperity to the farmers. So we encourage you to do more, but we here in the consulate, we do not have a program to support you. But at the same time, the good work that you're doing on the ground, And I can tell you at the district level and also at the state level, all the good organizations or civil society bodies and NGOs who are working, they feed into the policy making. They give their inputs, and there's a osmosis, a healthy osmosis between policymakers, farmers, what you think. So, it's about doing things together and not doing it in silos. It's not that the government knows everything. For that reason, I've said, if you have some good suggestions, why not? Let me convey it. I'm not an agriculture scientist. I don't know everything. There are maybe many lacunas. If you think that there are lacunas or there's a fix to all those things, we are dealing with a larger issue. We are open to suggestions and we will take those suggestions back home. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Manju here.
Yeah, go ahead, Manju.
Hi, I'm here I'm a cybersecurity student from Canada, University of Toronto. And thank you so much to the Honorable Consulate General for this open dialogue discussion. And my question is, as we were just talking about the 3 farm bills, and I think there's one of my concern, and my question is, hoarding has been legalized under these new farmer bills. So as Honorable Consulate were already mentioning that the land sizes, the land holdings in India have shrank. So the majority of the farmers in India, they're all small farmers who don't own a land more than 2 acres or 3 acres. So my question is, why this is not being discussed in those open dialogue discussions, or why this has not been discussed? Because the reason is, if we say that we are trying to make one nation, one market, a farmer is allowed to sell in any state. They can go from one state to another to sell out their crops. But knowing the reality that because majority of the farmers are small farmers and they don't have that access. And it's not feasible for a farmer to go from Punjab or Gujarat to sell their crops in Maharashtra. It's not economically feasible for them because they are small farmers, and also they cannot store their produce because at the same time they don't have that much resources, or they don't have access to that much of capital in the first place. So my concern is, on the basis of a ground reality, this clause of making the hoarding legalized, this is only gonna benefit the big corporations because they only have the access to that much of capital to invest in the first place, but not the farmers.
Thank you, Manjot Bir. Thank you for your question. Now tell me, in any situation where you have free market, so you have demand and supply. So for example, if you go to Walmart here and they have certain goods in their warehouse, does that amount to hoarding? I mean, why have you heard of hoarding in eggs, in poultry, in milk, etc.? So why do you think hoarding will happen on the agricultural side in rice and wheat? Have you heard of hoarding on vegetables, potatoes, etc.?
Definitely.
The moment you open to, if there is produce in the market and there is a demand for that somewhere else, obviously the demand would flow.
I mean, we are already seeing the hoarding happening with onions. The prices when the
hoarding happens because of essential commodities.
I think what is happening is the 2 things. Hoarding is the Essential Commodity Act, and when we're talking about the APMC Mandi, what we're specifically talking is that APMC Mandi with the first bill, which makes it another market, there is going to be private Mandi. So there are going to be 2 separate markets. So 2 separate markets means there is no free market. There is no demand and supply in play, because when we say, as the Honorable Counsel said, demand and supply will only come in play when there is single platform. If there are multiple platforms, the farmer would be abused at all these platforms separately, because there's no one, MSP would not come into play. There's not going to be fixed price of every commodity. The demand and supply, they will be like, okay, we are giving you air conditioner, this is our price. Every mandi would have a separate price, rather than where, we have stock exchange, right? Bombay Stock Exchange. I could buy a Reliance share. I could buy any share from, Adani's or anybody else. There's a single price, single market. You can buy 10 shares for the same price. You can buy 100. You can buy 100,000. You can buy 1,000,000 shares for the same price. That's what demand and supply is. So that's what specifically is talking about. Do we need multiple markets or do we need a single market? The way this bills were supposed to be designed.
Well, you are interpreting things in your manner. You are free to do that. I put the facts before you, my own sense and understanding, and this is the government sense. And let me ask you, who determines the price in the mandi?
So there is.
Who determines? The farmers do they determine?
No, the farmers never determine. The government determines the MSP for 23 crops.
MSP is a separate issue. The farming,
I'm saying when they go to the mandi, sir.
Have you looked at states in India where the mandi system is not there?
Yes, sir.
And
if you humbly may let me, I can.
There is a lot of, the mandi system you mean to say is perfect?
So in Maharashtra, specifically with Vidarbha, there is no mandi system. They have to, if the MSP on cotton, suppose, was declared as 5,300 rupees.
But cotton MSP procurement through cotton is very limited, only for the small textile mills that are there, government owned. Otherwise,
we can talk about maize, sir. We can talk about any crop you like.
No.
Any area you like.
Small interruption. The cotton not buying state governments, any state government. Cotton only by that central government only. There is a cotton board.
Yes, sir. CCI, Cotton Corporation of India.
CCI, yes. CCI corporation is buying that. That goes to only central government.
I was just giving an example.
It's not buying the state government.
Yeah. So, sir was asking about the market.
How can you say that the state government is buying that cotton? Cotton never buys the state governments. Any state government.
Absolutely.
Look,
so,
the cotton farmers are getting more and more prices.
We can take example of maize. I'm talking about the 23 crops, which are food crops, which are pulses, which is rice, wheat, and paddy. The way MSP is declared, so they are not bought at the same MSP because there's no mandi in Maharashtra. More than 70% of mandis that we have in the whole country are based in either Haryana or Punjab. And if you combine, Pashtumi Uttar Pradesh, which is the Western Uttar Pradesh, we have almost 80% of the mandis of the country just in these three markets, because the Green Revolution started from here. So I'm not talking about mandis. The other part of the country, Bihar, doesn't have mandis. So if MSP on wheat is declared to be 1,800, a farmer in Bihar is selling his crop for 600, barely 800. That's the reality of the situation, sir.
So, Karanbir, if government buys all the crop that is produced in India, grains at the MSP level,
yes,
who
sir,
is going to pay for it? The taxpayers.
Exactly. So what I'm saying is, if there is a law, if there is a written MSP guarantee law, then the government doesn't need to buy. They can only keep buying the 6% or the 16% varies every year according to the PDS system requirement of the government. Rest will be bought by the private players or anybody in the mandi. If there is a fixed MSP, but there is no fixed MSP, so they buy in bulk in cheaper prices. And the farmers are just going into debt again and again. They cannot even get the cost invested in the farm. And as we see from the Swaminathan report and the manifesto of the present, ruling party in 2014, 19, and repeatedly in Gujarat elections, they promised that they will not only give the cost of the farmer, but a 50% profit, which would include the labor and the effort by the family of the farmer to compensate for their farming. So just imagine if you had a business in Gujarat, in America, in whichever country you want, if you can't even get the cost out of the business out, then what's the point of even going into their business?
Karanbir, I have to interject because Swaminathan report came out in 2005 and no action was taken till Modi government. That's point number one. Now, point number two, that if you have read that report, almost 200 recommendations have been implemented in this new farm laws.
So we're specifically talking about the APMC Mandi, the first law
No, see
and
that
the private mandi
human
law.
mind can justify any
I
position.
think we'll be deflecting from that answer and moving into other parts of Swaminathan report if you bring those other 200 one by one, because I've gone through all those points myself, sir.
Ram, can I come in? This
Yeah,
sort
sure.
of, we are not here to debate. We are looking at an issue. I'm trying to explain. Obviously, people are free to have their opinion. But my question only is that if you have suggestions as to how we can improve things, please do send to us.
Yeah,
Okay,
definitely,
so
sir.
one last
and I
question.
humbly want to correct myself. This is not my opinion. I'm stating the fact as on paper by the government of India.
Thank you, Karanbir ji. Thank you, Karan. And last one question, CJ sir. We have one question from Sheena ji. I think she has been raising hand for a lot.
For quite some time.
Yeah, Sheena ji, go ahead.
Hi.
And please be short. Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? You're lucky. I actually don't have too many questions, but I'll give you a quick synopsis of myself. My family came out of, we left India in 1957, went to England, and then I myself born here, my mother born in England, I born in Canada. We've been going back every year. We still do own a few farm properties there. So we're very much a family of Kasans. But just to touch on a few points, a few words were thrown out from each and every speaker. One thing, respected G, you did mention in regards to dialogue, that dialogue needs to happen and from both sides. And it seemed to, for me, it seemed that you were on the side of thinking that pretty much the government has been very much open to dialogue. And then just to kind of bring in the other brother G, who had mentioned that he's also an NRI, who's also in PR and media, as an NRI, and we've been here a long time, also in a democratic state, a democratic society. I think, the biggest thing is when things like this are put into place, right? There's levels that we go through of communication, right? The biggest thing is that when laws and stuff are put into place or even thought of, it's discussed with exactly who it affects, right? It's not rocket science. I'm not going to pretend that I'm so educated into the nitty and gritties of all the laws. But again, it's not rocket science to see that there was no discussion when these things were originally planned with any of the farmer unions, which, as an NRI, regardless, NRI or not, that's just mind-boggling, right? The shadiness of how these were all put into place and the time that these were all put into place speaks volumes. Right. That's just that. Well, I'll leave that for open, I'll leave that for just, everyone to just kind of maybe just ponder on just a little bit. That right there just doesn't ring anything democratic to me. Right. In regards to, again, just on the topic of dialogue, unfortunately, as much as we'd like to believe, social media seems to be the only form that anybody outside the country, even inside the country, gets any type of information, right? So dialogue right there is kind of capped all around social media. And one of the very first things that the government did was completely block all social media avenues, hence meaning a lot of the news that we get out, right? As all of us, as respected G as well. I mean, he's a very respected man, the Consulate. I know you completely understand that here, again, not rocket science to see that certain broadcast stations, just the typical argument in America is Republican, Democratic, right? A lot of the news stations there seem to be leaning towards one side, and those seem to be the stations that get the news out, right? Okay, so I'm sorry, so I'll leave that point alone.
Yeah,
another point
we are over like 25 minutes.
Yeah, just give me two.
Sorry
more
to
seconds.
stop you. Yeah, and
yeah,
thanks
no,
for
that's
joining.
okay. Just one more
everyone.
second.
Yeah, thanks everyone
Okay.
for joining, and we'll be having like more of this section, and your input is very valuable. I know, like
if I could just throw in one more thing though, just out of respect, I was waiting for quite a long time, raised my hand many times. I think one thing that also that again, you don't need to be fully educated on the nitty-gritties of the law, but one thing that our eyes can see when it comes to numbers, regardless of whether it's being reported, if it's 5,000, 10,000, 20,000, we're not blind to see that this is the biggest non-violent protest. As American NRIs, as Canadian NRIs, we know how protests can get out of hand. And from what we see, The only violence that kicked in was when, unfortunately, the police seemed to get involved. And I'm not taking no political stance. Again, I think in my comments, I've showed you that I don't know anything about politics. That's not my thing. But again, you know, as a Canadian, as an Indian born Canadian, you know, I just don't understand how it's not easy to see that, you know, the masses are saying that they are against this bill. Right. So I'm just pointing on that because it was mentioned before that majority of India agrees. They don't, you know, we're not blind to it.
Thank you for sharing.
Thank you so much.
So it happened, I think like it happened on both sides. And so peace is always
Thank you very much.
Peaceful protests are always encouraged. And that's what like India or US are for. And it happened on Jan 6th. And as Randirji said, it happened on like 26 in India.
Yeah, I think to compare those two situations, it's completely different. That's like apples and oranges,
and we have
right?
we have the policies in both the countries.
Yeah. The Red Fort is not Red Fort. It's a public.
No.
Yeah, it's right.
Yeah,
it's not a government. Right.
But I greatly appreciate both the countries. And
thank you very much. I appreciate you.
And
thank you, respect.
And their policies. And thank you, Randirji. Thank you for joining. And Randirji, please give a closing statement. I can say like, from my side, I can say Jai Jawan, Jai Kisan. I know there are people fighting outside in the border and people like struggling in the country.
You know, just to say, Ram, that it has been fascinating to discuss this particular issue with all our friends. You know, some of our friends disagree on certain points, which is perfectly fine. And we respect that. My only point to them is that if you have constructive suggestions, it will be helpful if you can convey it to us. That way we can take our dialogue process forward. You know, we can look for several, there are so many things on which we can bicker over or do things, etc. But let's come together. Let's come together and take things forward. If you have any, Karanbir Paji, if you have any issues, we'll be more than happy to take it. And,
I really appreciate, sir. I just want to have your, you know, maybe email or, you know, a way I could communicate further. And so we can keep this dialogue moving forward and we can engage more conversation. I really appreciate your time, sir.
Karanbir, you know, our email address is there on the internet, our website. Please, you know, just write us an email, give us all your thoughts, etc. And we'll be more than happy. I mean, after all, you know, this protest is happening at some point. This has to end here. It cannot go on. You know, we are talking of one large family, one family. We are one country. You know, we have
India is waiting for the progress, you know, to unleash. So we have to step. हमने एक नारा बनाया सर.
We are a diverse.
नारा है सबसे ऊपर रखेंगे देश का झंडा, पूरा करके रहेंगे किसान एजेंडा.
Jai Bharat, Jai US.
Yeah. You know, we are a large family. We are a large country. People have different opinions, etc. We have to take everybody along. Yeah, that's the best way forward. And I respect, you know, if you have a certain viewpoint, I respect that. And similarly, let's come together and, you know, in spirit of cooperation, and let's do it together. You know, we are so proud of what Punjab has done, the Punjabi farmers have done for us as a country. So today, if they have a particular viewpoint, we must listen to them. And that is the spirit. Okay. So
and thank you. Yeah. Thank you everyone for maintaining the spirit.
Yes. And let's have, when I come there, we can have another conversation, and hopefully we'll have a lot more fruitful discussions back home, and Karanbir will have something else to talk about. He'll talk about.
Trust me, sir. What hurt me the most, I had a very fruitful corporate career, sir. And there was a news that was being played on 26th of November on a very prominent national media channel. And it had the news headline as Kisan Desh Ka Dushman. And that's when I could not sleep. I was like, ye kaisi khabar chal rahi hai yahan pe? So I thought of flying back, and I've been hurt a lot of personal stuff. Meri job chali gayi, I was supposed to be having my wedding and everything. So things have moved a lot for me. So main ye bol raha hu ki I want this protest to finish myself, but there has to be a way forward, which I think is this talk is one of those initiatives that will carve the path forward. So I really appreciate everybody's time, and I yield back the remaining time to you all. Thanks.
Thank you all. Yeah, when the pandemic is over, maybe we can meet around the in Ohio. Yeah, thank you all.
We need that camp too.
That is true. And thank you, Randirji. Thank you for your precious time and valuable inputs. And everyone shared their opinions. Yeah, I know like we need to jump in the middle because to appreciate everyone like for the valuable time and for joining. So if I'm harsh, like please forgive me. But yeah, thank you all. Thank you for joining. And
thank you all.
We'll more of this.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.